Okay, in this video, I wanted to teach through the mock test for 1-1 to 1-5. So the first problem says looking at the figure to the right and using proper notation. So that's the key. You have to have the right notation with what your answers are saying. First thing says identify a pair of opposite rays. So opposite rays have a common endpoint. Let's say that Z is a common endpoint. And they go in opposite directions. So that's one direction. So that's going to be AZ with the arrowhead closest to the Z. And here's the opposite direction right here. And that's going to be ZB. And the arrowhead is closer to the B. Okay, so that's one pair, but you have a second pair that you could have identified. And the second pair would have been, let's see, ZD. So I'm going to write this. So I'll go like this. So you have a second pair. And that's going to be ZD. And the arrowhead is near the D. And then the opposite way is going to be ZC. ZC. And the arrowhead is near the C. Okay, so the arrowhead has to be closest to the letter where the arrowhead is closest to in the figure. So since it's closest to D, the arrowhead's always closest to D, closest to C, closest to B, closest to A. That's where the arrowhead should be. Okay, so now let's go back and identify a line. So a line could be lots of things. So let me erase this. We have several lines here. And one line, and a line is always named by two letters, could be a Z with a line symbol, could be a B with a line symbol, it could be CD with a line symbol, and numerous other things. But that gives you 3 examples. Okay, similarly for a line segment, it could be lots of answers. So I could have AZ with this segment. That means I'm only looking from here to here, not going to the arrowheads. Or it could be ZB, which means I'm only looking from here to here. Or it could be CD, and I can look all of there. So I have to have the proper notation above each of these symbols. So that should be your takeaway from this problem. Okay, sliding down, name the 2 lines that are located on the plane to the right. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to name lines. Do you see these little baby letters right here and here? Those will name lines. So that's going to be line I and line H. I also could have called those lines AB with a line symbol on top. So AB was H, so I probably should put that down here just to not confuse things. AB was H. And then CD would be where I is. So this would be CD. So those are different ways to name the lines. And they are located on the plane. So that's important also. On the plane, on the pink plane. Name the line that passes through the plane. Okay, this line passes through the plane. It doesn't have a small letter, so the only way I could name it is either KF with this line symbol or FK with the line symbol. Those are my only options for naming that line. Okay, number 4, find the indicated length and show your work. So if the whole piece is 10 and the little piece is 6, then the other little piece will be 4. So that would be sufficient showing your work. Okay, for 5, it says AB is 2x. Okay, I can see that. BC is 4x. I see that. Find AB if AC is 36. Okay, I need to put 36 right here. Now, get yourself an equation. 36 equals 2x plus 4x. 36 equals, combine like terms, 6x, divide by 6 to isolate the x, and 6 equals x, but we're not done because the question is find AB. So, since AB equals 2 times x, 2 times the 6 will give me 12, so AB is 12. So I'm going quickly. You can stop the video at any time and go back over what I just said to make sure you understand it. Okay, let's go on. Okay, in the diagram, calculate the midpoint of AB. Show your work and label this midpoint M. And I give you the formula. Here's your formula right here. So since I have x1s and x2s, I'm going to label my x's accordingly. And I would highly recommend that you label your x's as well. So I had labeled mine x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. Now you can change the order as long as you have x's with y's and the numbers match. Okay, so let's find the midpoint or the middle of that line segment. So I see my formula is x1 plus x2. So right underneath, I'm going to say x1 is 1. So 1 plus 4 over 2, that's the x value, comma, y1, which is 2, plus 6, which is y2, over 2. Okay, 1 plus 4 is 5. It's over 2. 2 plus 6 is 8 over 2. Okay, I can change this into 2.5 and change that into 4. That's helpful because I am going to go to about 2.5 and 4, which is right here on my line, and put an M, and it certainly visually appears as if that's the midpoint. So that point is 5/2, comma, 4. Okay? So now they say use the same points, so the same points for A and B, to calculate the distance between the 2 points. So what I'm going to do is bring down the A. So A was 1, 2, and B was 4, 6. And I labeled this x1, y1, x2, y2. We just make sure that's the case. Yes, it is. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing. Copy the radical symbol. Use your paren. x2 is 4. 4 minus 1 squared plus y2 is 6. 6 minus 2 squared. Okay, 4 minus 1 is 3 squared, plus 6 minus 2 is 4 squared, and technically I should have these in parens. 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. This is radical 25, but I know that is equivalent to 5 times 5. They both come out. The radical goes away, and my answer is the distance is 5. So the distance in question was 5. So go back and look through that if that's confusing to you. Okay, in the diagram, CD bisects ACB. Okay, if it bisects, I know that this line, right, this angle right here is equal to this angle right here. They're both the same. They want me to find x and then also find 2 other angles. So I find x by setting these 2 items equal to each other because I know when an angle is bisected, it divides the angle into 2 equal parts. So let's start doing our math over here. So I have 3x minus 5 equals 2x plus 5. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I'm going to rewrite the problem now. That's x minus 5 equals 5. I want to get my x on one side and numbers on the other side, so I'm going to do the opposite operation and add 5 to both sides, and I get x equals 10. So we're on our way to finding solutions. X is 10, so BCD is this angle right here. To get the value, I'm going to plug in the 10 I just found and solve. So 3 times 10 is 30, minus 5 is 25. So the measure of BCD is 25. Now they want the measure of BCA. So BCA is the big guy. Well, if this is 25, then this must be 25. And we can check by saying 2 times 10, because that's what my value for x was. 2 times 10 plus 5, and that does indeed check. So that's 25. So if this angle is 25 and this angle is 25, the big angle is 25 plus 25, which equals 50 degrees. Okay, so that's how you do that when you see the word bisect. Bisect means that this angle equals this angle. Your strategy is set them equal, solve for your x, and then solve for your angles. Okay, you can ignore this little extra angle. Extra angle. Okay, so I had you name these angles by the numbers. Remember, you can also name them by 3 letters, with the vertex, this pink dot, being the one that is in the middle there. And I don't have a letter there, A, B, C, D, so I would make that E if I wanted to use that. Okay, identify a pair of vertical angles. Okay, vertical angles are right across from each other, and they are made up of opposite rays. So this ray is opposite that ray, and this ray is opposite that way. So look what I'm noticing. Angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical, and so are angle 2 and angle 4. And don't forget, the vertical angles are congruent, so they're equal to each other. Next, it says identify a pair of linear angles. Linear angles are on one line. So pick a line. I'm going to pick this orange line. And angle 1 and angle 4 are on that line. What's another pair of linear angles? Well, look at the top angles on that same line. So angle 2 and angle 3 are linear. What about the yellow line? Yep, that creates linear pairs too. So angle 2 and angle 1 are a linear pair, and so are angle 3 and angle 4. So you have lots of answers out there, but you only need to pick a pair, and pair mean 2. Okay, like a pair of socks. You've got 2 socks. Okay, a pair of legs, 2 legs. Okay, draw a pair of supplementary angles. Now, you don't have to have a protractor to do this. What you're going to do is you're going to draw a straight line. Okay, I'm using that line feature. I'm going to put a little dot here, and I'm going to draw a ray right here. Put your little arrowheads and everything, and I can say angle 1 and angle 2. So angle 1 and angle 2 are supplements, because they add or sum, that symbol means sum, to 180 degrees. Okay, what about complements? So you have to memorize these. Whenever you see supplements, you've got to think 180. Whenever you see complements, you have to think 90. Okay, so complements, the best way to draw that, use your line feature again, the straight line feature. Get a right angle. Indicate it's a right angle by the box. Then draw a ray somewhere in here. doesn't have to bisect, but it has to cut this angle into two, not two equal parts necessarily, but two angles. This is angle 1, this is angle 2. I can say angle 1 and angle 2 are complements. Okay, going on. Given that the measure of angle 1 is 50, what's the measure of its complement, which sums to 90? So 90 minus 50 is 40. What's the measure of its supplement? It sums to 180. So 180 minus 50 is 130. That's the supplement. So you have to memorize that. Okay, here are the 5 algebra problems, very similar to the ones that were in the packet. Very similar to what you've gone over before and what we've reviewed before. So my strategy, there's a couple of different ways to do this. If I want to do the first problem, I'm going to use the multiplicative inverse and multiply by 2/3. I just flip that fraction over. Do the same thing over here. When I multiply by 2/3, I get rid of the 3's and the 2's on the diagonal. I'm left with P. And 15 times 2 is 30 over 3, which equals 10. So 10 is my answer. Okay, go on to the next one. Here I see I have a distribution. Be careful about the sign. I'm going to rewrite it. 3x plus 2 times 7 is 14, minus 2x equals negative 14. Okay, on the left side, combine variables. I have a 3x and a minus 2x. That's x plus 14 equals negative 14. Subtract 14 from both sides. X is going to equal negative 14 and another negative 14, which means you're going more negative. So x equals negative 28. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm just going to check my answer key to make sure that I am good, and I am. Okay, coming down to number 3. I see that I have another distribution, but be super careful because I'm distributing this whole number here and here. So I get 21, a minus 7 times 4 is a minus 28. A minus 7 times a minus 2x is a plus 14x. That's going to equal 41. On the left side, combine like terms. 21 and a minus 28 is a minus 7 plus 14x equals 41. I'm going to get the x by itself, so I'm going to add 7. I did the opposite operation. I have 14x equals 48. Divide by 14 to isolate your x. I have x equals 48 over 14. I could reduce it by dividing the numerator and the denominator by 2. And that's going to give me 24 over 7. And I'm going to stop there. Okay, that brings me to 4. Again, if you need to have me go slower, just go back over it, stop the video, and watch it again. Okay, there's a number of ways to do this. I kind of like this. I'm going to put this in a big box and this in a big box. My problem is this 3 down here. To get rid of that, I'm going to multiply the left side by 3 and the right side by 3. So 3 times 5/3 gives me 5x plus, so this got multiplied here and here. So that's going to be 6 times x minus 3 equals 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, now go one more step. Okay, so now combine like terms. 5x and 6x are 11x. So I have 11x minus 18 equals 15 plus 18 plus 18. I get 11x, because this goes away, equals 5 and 8 are 13, and then the 3 carry the 1, 33. Isolate your x by dividing by the coefficient, and you should be getting x is 3. And we have one more to go, and that's over here. So again, I have a little distribution here and here. So do that piece first. 2x plus 6 minus 7x equals a negative 14. Okay, combine like terms. So what is like terms? The 2x and the negative 7x will give me a negative 5x plus the 6 I have equals negative 14. To move the 6, do the opposite operation. That's gone. Negative 5x equals negative 20. Divide by a negative 5 so that your x is isolated. Divide by a negative 5, and you're going to get a positive 4 for your answer. So x is 4. So here are all our answers. Make sure that you can get these. I'm going to ask you similar questions on the Chapter 1 test. So go over those algebra problems as often as you need to so that you have good algebra skills. Remember vocab words like complement, 90 degrees, supplement, 180 degrees. Be able to draw those. Remember what vertical angles are and what linear angles are. Remember, if something is bisected, it divides into 2 equal parts. Be confident using the distance formula and the midpoint formula, and make sure to use good form and label your coordinates. When you look at problems like 4 and 5, remember that the whole, which is 10 in this case, equals the sum of the parts. Same thing here. The whole, which is 36, equals the sum of the parts, and then you can solve for your x and then use it to answer your question. Remember how we identify a line, and all of this, you get your points by knowing the answer and using good notation. Remember, you have to use this notation so that I know what you're speaking about. Okay, so that's it. I hope this helped. Go back over the mock quiz again and build confidence with this material.